Hello, and welcome to another episode of Facts Matter. Today, we're looking at a hot topic, or at least it's been in the news, and that's fentanyl and the border. Trump says fentanyl is pouring across with illegal immigrants, and that closing the border is the solution. Let's see what the data actually shows. Trump has said fentanyl is pouring across the border with immigrants. He used this claim to justify closing the border, imposing tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and declaring a national emergency. He's called fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. But where does fentanyl actually come from? Who's actually bringing it in? And would closing the border stop it? We have data from CBP, the DEA, the CDC, and Freedom of Information requests. Let's see what it shows. Today we're looking at fentanyl and the border. 3 claims, all backed by data from official sources. Claim number 1. Fentanyl is pouring across with illegal immigrants. Trump has said this repeatedly, that fentanyl is coming across the border between ports of entry where migrants cross illegally. Is that where it's actually being seized? Here's what the data shows. The American Immigration Council analyzed CBP data from fiscal year 2018 through 2024. They found that over 92% of all CBP fentanyl seizures were either at ports of entry or Border Patrol vehicle checkpoints. Fewer than 8% were between ports of entry on illegal crossings. In one analysis of 680 CBP press releases about fentanyl seizures, they found 519 smuggling incidents at ports of entry, 101 at interior Border Patrol checkpoints, 49 from vehicle stops, and just 10 incidents between ports of entry involving people on foot or abandoned fentanyl. 10 out of 680 USAFacts used 25 data from January through September found that about 84% of all fentanyl confiscated at U.S. borders were intercepted at official entry points. So the claim is that fentanyl is pouring across with illegal immigrants crossing between ports, but 92% is seized at legal checkpoints, not in the desert where migrants cross. Verdict: false. 92% of fentanyl is seized at legal ports of entry, not at illegal border crossings. He's got the location completely wrong. Claim 2. It's the migrants bringing fentanyl into the country. The implication is that asylum seekers and people crossing illegally are the ones smuggling it. Who's actually getting caught with fentanyl? Here's what the data shows. The American Immigration Council got data through a Freedom of Information Act request. They looked at everyone arrested for smuggling fentanyl at the southern border between October 2018 and June 2024. Roughly 4 in 5 people, about 80, arrested for smuggling fentanyl at the southern border were U.S. citizens. Specifically, At southern border ports of entry covering San Diego, Tucson, El Paso, and Laredo, 81.2% of those arrested for fentanyl smuggling from fiscal year 2019 through June 2024 were U.S. citizens. The Cato Institute used Sentencing Commission data and found that in 2021, U.S. citizens were about 86% of convicted fentanyl traffickers versus about 9% unlawful immigrants. Why? Because cartels recruit U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens get the least scrutiny at the border. They can drive through checkpoints with hidden compartments in their cars, and nobody suspects them. The DEA testified to Congress that the most common method is passenger vehicles through ports of entry. No migrants on foot, U.S. citizens in cars. Verdict: false. 81% of people caught smuggling fentanyl are U.S. citizens, not migrants. Cartels use Americans because they can cross legally without raising suspicion. Claim 3. Closing the border will stop fentanyl. Trump has used this argument to justify border policies, tariffs, and emergency declarations. If you close the border to illegal crossings, will fentanyl stop coming in? Here's a problem with that claim. We just showed you that 92% of fentanyl comes through legal ports of entry, and 81% is smuggled by U.S. citizens. It's hidden in passenger vehicles at checkpoints. The DEA testified to Congress, and I quote, "Our investigations tell us that the vast majority of fentanyl is coming in the ports of entry. So if you close illegal crossings, you're not addressing where the fentanyl is actually coming from. It's not coming across in backpacks with migrants. It's coming through in cars driven by Americans at illegal checkpoints. Closing the border to asylum seekers doesn't stop U.S. citizens driving through checkpoints." Verdict: false. Closing the border to illegal crossings wouldn't stop fentanyl because that's not where it's coming from. Wrong location, wrong people, wrong solution. So here's what the data shows. 92% of fentanyl is seized at legal ports of entry, not at illegal crossings. 81% is smuggled by U.S. citizens, not migrants. Cartels use Americans in cars at checkpoints. That's the reality. Here's the bigger picture. Manufacturing used to be in China, then shifted to Mexico. Chinese companies now supply precursor chemicals to Mexican cartels. The cartels manufacture it in Mexico, then recruit U.S. citizens to drive it across at legal checkpoints. They hide it in cars, in hidden compartments, mixed with legitimate cargo, and the scale is massive. In 2023, 776 Americans died from fentanyl overdoses. That's 199 deaths per day. Fentanyl was involved in 69% of all U.S. drug overdose deaths in 2023. But there is good news. Both seizures and deaths are falling. Fentanyl seizures at the border peaked in April 2023 and have been declining since. From January through September 2025, seizures are down 55% compared to the same period in 2024, and deaths are falling too. In 2024, fentanyl-involved deaths dropped to 48,422 from 76,282 in 2023. That's provisional CDC data, but it shows overdoses down in almost every state. The worst of the fentanyl crisis may be behind us. So what do the experts say? The DEA and DHS have testified to Congress repeatedly. They say if you want to stop fentanyl, you need to focus on ports of entry, not illegal crossings. You need to go after cartel financial networks. You need to disrupt precursor chemical supply chains from China. You need reduction and treatment programs. What they don't say is close the border to asylum seekers, because that's not where the fentanyl is coming from. The bottom line, fentanyl is a real crisis. Nearly 73,000 Americans died in 2023. But Trump's claims about where it comes from and how to stop it don't match the data. It's not pouring across with illegal immigrants. It's coming through legal ports and cars driven by U.S. citizens. And closing the border to asylum seekers won't stop it. The data is clear. That's Facts Matter. See you in the next one. I posted the links to all the references in the video in the description. Please do your own research. And I'll see you again. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Be safe out there. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.